Hi, everyone. Hello. Hello, and how are you? What is new? What is exciting? What is happening? I'm Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole. And we are playing the Outer World, which I'm so excited about, and I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. It's not true, but I just feel like it. How are you? Hey, everybody. Hi, PH. Hi, Time of Gifts. Good evening, adjust for Earth's rotation to everyone. Hi. Welcome back, everyone. It's so good to see you all. What are you doing? What am I doing? I'm Trooper SJP, you know that. We're playing the Outer Worlds. We haven't played the Outer Worlds like 2-3 weeks because of madness, but we get to play today, which I'm very excited about. And, so we've got things to do. Hey, Hawkeye. Hawkeye, how are you? It is good to see you. Look, I've got things I want to tell you before we start. Just so you know. Volus! Everyone, Crit to Twitch. Iceman says, were they big and stuff? I look for one in case we get power outs this winter, because no heat. Okay, I can work claw, but no internet and no fox will break my heart. I don't know much about civilian generators, especially for an entire household. I really can't, especially since you live in an apartment, right? Like, most people I know that have generators who are civilians, like, don't live in apartments because I cannot tell you about civilian generator business. That is not a thing I know anything about. I cannot help you with that one. But I bet people somewhere people here do. Hawkeye says, getting ready to roll dice in an hour, then Gen Con GM prep. Ooh, or what are you GMing for Gen Con? You should say. I wanted to say that I have to leave early today. I have a 2 p.m. meeting that I have to attend for Gen Con because I'm doing remote producing for them. And so we have a remote production meeting at 2 p.m. so I actually have to leave in an hour and 40 minutes. So we're going to start playing real soon. I just, more or less. Let's see. Yeah, so that pre-stream nap is Ooh, pre-stream nap's nice. Werewolf Feels, how are you? Good day, folks. It's been a bit since I could tune in live, but better late than never. Absolutely. So, before we play, I wanted to share something with you, right? I feel like today I can probably get caught up with stuff that I need to get caught up on. I just kind of have that feeling. We shall see. But, so as you know, I'm playing in a hard stop reminder in 115. Yeah, because I just have to be off by, I would say, 150. If I'm off by, 150, that'll let me, drop and then switch over in time. So, or 155. I just need, 5. I need to leave 5 minutes. That's all. Yeah, I know. We only get, 2 hours today. It's really kind of terrible. But, look. Yeah, Riska's got work. You'll be doing a session of Urban Shadows. Oh, nice. We created a one-shot adventure set here in Louisville, and a one session of Carnival Crossroads, where the members of the Carnival find strange happenings in the 1930s Dust Bowl town. That sounds great, Hawkeye. Werewolf is doing all right. Thank you. A bit tired, but unfortunately, who isn't these days? Indeed. I did not get a lot of sleep last night, but I'm feeling pretty good anyway. And I ordered groceries because I haven't in a while. And so today, just so you know, today I'm going to make dinner. And I'm going to make 8 portions of dinner, so I have 8 days to eat dinner. And I'm going to do that today. Did I get a new tattoo? No, I would like to get a new tattoo. And I got one up here, but I haven't gotten a new tattoo. But I do have something else I want to show you. So, as you all know, I have hinted that I'm going to be playing a vampire in an RPG that will be starting sometime soon. But it is not announced, and it is not my channel, so I cannot say anything about it. So I won't. Except, I will say I have a show and tell. Rissa says, the cats woke up at 4 a.m. Oof, and then continued to zoom back and forth over my bed for another 2 hours. Oh no! That's no good. So, I may or may not be playing a vampire. I called the werewolves in my RPG group monsters last night, and they got really insulted. You know how people are? Okay, so look. What I'm going to tell you, I should probably do the show and then talk more about it as we start the game, because what I want to tell you, I've got a longer story to tell you, and I feel like I should probably tell you here, because I don't feel like I'll be able to tell you on the vampire stream because there will be, you know, things going on. So, am I happy with my vampires concept? Absolutely. I'm super happy with my vampires concept. I have no idea if other people will be happy with my vampires concept, but I'm happy with my vampires concept. You know, I'm super conceptual. When I make characters, I tend to go concept first. I know everybody does different things when they make characters. Everybody has a different process, but I'm super conceptual. Also, I need to set up my new mic, but that's not the point. I want to show you the show and tell because the show and tell is so cool. It is so cool, and then I'll actually pull up the game screen, which is doing its thing. Okay. So, playing a werewolf, a vampire, blah, blah, blah. And, how much can I tell you? There are probably things I can't tell you, but I can do what I want. It's Vampire the Masquerade, V5. And, it's set in Canada. That is a true statement. But, so I always go, like, when I make a character, I always tend to go concept, and I also tend to sort of try to make a character that is unique and specific to the setting that I'm playing in. Werewolf says, I'd love to sit down one day with a bunch of folks and talk about the many different ways to build characters, because they're all so fascinating. Canada? Yes, Canada. And, there are people, especially players of the World of Darkness and Dungeons and Dragons and Shadowrun, and depends on there's certain systems that really encourage this particular style of character creation more than others. I find any kind of system with a meta plot, or anything that is really, really heavily D&D is another one that's it's not meta plot, but it really lends itself towards this kind of character creation style, which is something I just don't do. Which is a style where players just make characters in absence of games. Like that is a very popular style especially with games with meta plot, right? Because if you're playing in a game wherein the publisher says that they control what happens in the story more than the GM does, then players are feel very comfortable just making characters because the meta plot already exists, and they, you know, there's certain systems that really encourage that particular style of character creation where you like oh, I'm gonna go make a character. There's no game yet, but I'm gonna go make one, and I want my character to be a La Sombra ice cream truck driver or whatever you got going on. You know what I mean? Like you make your thing. Anyway, I'm not shaming you, Krellin. I don't get to play it. No, I'm not shaming you. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing that some systems encourage more than others, right? Like some systems you kind of can't do that. I feel like you just can't do that with like firebrands. Do you know what I mean? Some systems that have like group character creation, you just kind of can't. Some systems you can't because you just don't have all the information to make your character before you actually get into the group. And then some systems really encourage that. Some don't. Like some are neutral. Some you can go either way. And D&D is super big on that. Mainly, and I think D&D is big on that, not necessarily because it has meta plot, just because of the way that it was set up, right? Basically because so much of like early D&D was random character generation, you kind of didn't like that. Do you know what I mean? That was ice cream truck driver in the frozen north of Canada, right? Yeah, you're not supposed to do that with it. Yeah, you're just not supposed to. But some systems you shouldn't. Some systems you really can't. But some systems I think are really either encourage it or are well suited to it for different reasons, right? Like, so for example, by the way, I am going to get to the show and tell. For example, games with heavy meta plot where the publisher sort of dictates what happens in the world of the campaign continuously are ones that very often encourage players making characters in absence of other players. Yes, Krellin says Games with archetypes lends themselves to it. Absolutely, games with archetypes absolutely lend themselves to that. I think metaplot games do, and I think random character generation games also do. Like I'm thinking about like first edition Traveler, where you roll and maybe you die in character creation. I think it was simply easy done that you would make up characters for Traveler in the absence of a campaign, because like you roll them and that maybe that one dies, maybe you try again, right? And the same thing with, like, I remember, we would do this in D&D first edition all the time, basic, because you're like, well, they'd say like, hey, make a character. You're like, okay, and you just roll your dice and you come up with a character and then you go. um yeah, and maybe if people didn't trust you because somehow you always rolled 18s, you would randomly roll your character there in the group. But it's that, that was also a game that really lent itself to people making their characters in in like in isolation. Rissa says, I feel like that type of character gen leads to see you're all in a tavern party introductions. Oh, Rissa, absolutely. I also think that that lends itself really well to you're all in a tavern. Any kind of campaign where the kind of setup is often assumed with you're all in a tavern, or you're, which either could be fantasy or sci-fi, or you're all on the ship, or you're all in a, like, there's certain things that I think lend itself very well to that. PH is, I'm struck by the similarities between a set metaplot and the set history of historical settings. Clear difference, but there's still an expectation of a solid setting. I think the difference between, let's say, a historical campaign and a set metaplot one is that you can, and I'm going to say that this difference I do not think is necessarily a real difference. I think it's a perception difference. If you see what I'm saying, like, I don't think what I'm about to say is not me endorsing this difference. I'm not saying this is the real difference. I think it's the perceived difference, and that is when I talk to people about, because historical games are not very popular. And when you talk to people about doing a historical game, the response they almost always give you is, oh gosh, but I don't know history. I'm afraid I won't know anything. I don't think I'll know anything. But yet they'll be like, I've read all 14 expanded universe books for the Forgotten Realms, right? Like, so there's a way in which something about metaplot settings, people like, sometimes which has like insane amounts of lore, right? And expanding lore, and I feel like there's a way people can feel like they can become experts in the lore, whereas people often feel nervous about history. And so I feel like there's a slightly different relationship there, which I don't feel that way personally, right? Obviously, because I run a lot of historicals, but I do feel like there's sometimes a bit of a difference there. Werewolf says, I like targeting what the intended story is and building my character to exploit that concept. Absolutely. Like, I was recently asked to join a VTM game in Chicago that takes place over time, building a bridge from the V20 floor to the V5 floor. So I'm playing La Sombra. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Kron says, speaking of random generation, I was thinking about how you shouldn't mix generation types recently, brought about by Shadowrun 5e. Oh, that's interesting. Say more. Shadowrun has a very structured character generation. You decide what sort of character you want to be and build that. Yes. But in 5e, they introduce surge characters that are magically different from the metatype norm. Catgirls and furries and other things like that. Oh, is that like, is that randomly generated? Werewolf loves historicals. I also love historicals, and I also don't think historicals, I feel like the worry that historicals are not, that you won't know enough stuff. I just don't, I feel like that's not particularly fair, because you can do historicals in a very unhistorical way or not. I mean, like, there are a lot of things you can do, And in Shadowrun 5e, surge generation is random. Oh, interesting. You have a bunch of tables to roll on to determine your surge characters. Ooh. Yeah. I sort of lean towards uh, not mixing those types in one campaign is where I tend to lean. Okay, so look, like Werewolf feels, I try to make characters that could only be made in that setting, unless we're talking about like a one shot that's different. Krellin says, well, what they did was this: if you pay 10 karma, you're a surge, but you roll randomly for all traits. If you pay 15, you can pick positive traits and roll for the negatives. If you pay 30 karma, you can pick both. Interesting. I'd have to see what that feels like in play. So here's an example before I get to the show and tell, which is right here in my lap. I'm playing in a Call of Cthulhu game with Rissa, and Rissa said it's set in 1947. It's where he started. in Seattle. And I was like, okay, 1947 Seattle, what would be an interesting character type that would be unique to that setting, right? That time and place. Also, I knew that players didn't have a lot of investigator types at the time. They had people who were a little bit less investigatory. It was like, who were like driven to find answers. I was like, okay, so I should probably pick somebody who's like maybe like a reporter or something like that. Somebody who's like who will seek out answers. And I was like, okay, well, the war just happened. Do I want to play a veteran or not? And I was like thinking about these things, and I was like, you know what? If this is Seattle in 1947, I know that Seattle had a really big Japanese American population who were all interned, and I think I'll make a character who's like basically now a college student and who's just come out of an internment camp, because that is a character that I really couldn't make or play in a lot of other campaigns, right? Like I couldn't play that character in a 20s. Like why would I like so basically I don't to be like, oh, let me just make a character who's basically I could play in any campaign. I try to make a character that seems very specific to that campaign setting and also the players around me. It's something that I find interesting. I really like to be grounded in that particular setting. For the most part, there are some campaigns where like that really clearly doesn't apply. If somebody says, hey, make a third level D&D character, well, clearly, that's not, I cannot do that. Yes. Rissa says, in the COC game Mark's running, one of our session 0 discussions was how real do we want our history? Yes. Since all the players are women and well, yes, absolutely, right? I mean, these are questions to have. Javai says, historic feels more grounded or real than fantasy, so just going something in a vacuum feels weird for historical games. Yeah, I feel the same way. Not accurate at all, but a perception that affects both players and games. Absolutely, yeah. And Kron says, well, for me, it sort of feels like the cost of Surge should be 30, except the value of having Surge traits, which have to be balanced by an equal value, or one is not 30 common. Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you think it's overpowered or underpowered? Werewolf says, honestly, if you think about the people in history, they didn't know much of what was coming either. Absolutely, right? Not knowing means you're in a similar space, I'd argue. Yeah. All you need is a rough overview and trust the people around to keep it feeling like the time it's supposed to be. Absolutely. And then also, if you can like learn all of the lore of some of these super lore heavy RPGs, like you can learn like a basic sketch overview of like, oh, okay, we're in the 1920s, there's Prohibition, okay, great. And usually I write a primer, like, hey, this is what you should know. No, it is not a cat. I do not have a cat on my lap. I'm allergic to cats, Ice Buddy. And while Smitty's alive, it created some interesting role-playing options. Oh, yeah, it did. So Surge is grossly underpowered at 30. The way I've played it is making people pay the 10 points, but getting to pick their trait balance. Okay, that's good. Okay, so, and look, I cannot show you the game yet because I have to show you this thing in the big screen before I show you the thing. So, the point is I'm playing this vampire game that's set in Canada, and I was told that our vampires could be up to 150 years old, vampire age. And furless cats are, like, it's not the fur. When people who are allergic to cats, they're not allergic to fur, they're allergic to saliva. And hairless cats still produce saliva. So, I was like, okay, a Canadian vampire that can be up to 150 years old, which means they could have been embraced like in the 1860s. And there is this thing, and I will tell you more about the thing once we get the game up, but I want to show you this thing first. There is a topic that I'm a little bit low-key obsessed with, and that, because you know how I am, and I want to write an academic paper on. I just haven't had the time because it's a little, I mean, like, I have other things I have to write first. Basically, I have other things I have to write, but, so there's a thing that's a historical thing that's really, really interesting, and I will tell you more about the historical thing once we get the game started, because then I don't have to show you the thing. But so no Dr. Evil Cat for you, no. Animal allergies are usually saliva, yep, or dander, yep. So there was a town in Canada called Africville, and Africville started like in the 18th century, I think. It's in Nova Scotia by Halifax on the coast. And Africville was basically the end of the Underground Railroad, right? So you had all those escaped slaves who would go north on the Underground Railroad. Many of them continued north all the way up into Canada. And so many of them settled in this place called Africville. in Canada. And there's a whole story about Africville, which I will tell you when we actually start the game. But I thought, I want to make a character who was from Africville. I think that'll be really interesting. Because I've researched this place anyway. It's a place I've researched, so I thought that would be really neat. And as I started doing extra research on Africville to make this character, to sort of figure out who this character would be, I learned about this very cool thing. Trooper can only love cats in RPGs and video games. Yeah. In most cases, a special protein in the saliva says Yormud. Yormud. There are some cat breeds that produce less of this protein. For some people with an allergy against cats, they work, so for not, yeah. Werewolf says, yes, I know this history. Really? Damn, the way that we talk about the Underground Road here in Canada. Oh, okay, Werewolf, I'm so excited to talk to you about this. It'll be really exciting. So, and Escape Sleeping makes it to Canada only to immediately be jumped by a vampire. That's some bad. No, he actually was turned in, like, at the Halifax explosion of 1917. Yeah, so he's actually younger than that. But I was trying to do research on I had already done research on the music of Africville, the music people have made about Africville, but I was like just doing a little bit more research about Africville, you know, in this time period, and I learned about the the Colored Hockey League, which was a hockey league of all of these sort of Black Canadians on the East Coast and the Maritimes, and Africville had a hockey team, the Africville Seasides. And guess what? How cool is this? Nobody else, by the way, you're all the first people to see this. Because I just got it in the mail, and so nobody else has seen this yet, including the other players in this game. But there is a small company, like made by, like, it looks like it's owned by like one person or whatever, right? And they are making reproduction hockey jerseys, basically hoodies, for these historical colored hockey teams, and they have a jersey for the Africville Seasides, and I got it, and here, right, the Africville Seasides, and wait, and you can see it here. This is like the Colored Hockey League little patch, right? And then like there's a little symbol, and I don't have like my name or anything on the back because I was like, I don't have time for that. But look. How cool is that? This is like the historical jersey from like the teens. How neat and exciting is that? Come on, right? How cool is that? I just wanted to share how excited I was by that. And so now I have the jersey that like my vampire character would have worn back in the teens. Right? How cool is that? I'm so excited by that.
Name game.
The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F. Or an M will appear. And then I say bo at a B. Then I say the name. Then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. And a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time. And there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Critch twitch, bo bitch twitch, banana, fanner, fo fit twitch, fee, fi, mo mitch twitch. Critch twitch. The name game. Yeah. I'm going to start the game so we can talk about Africville while we're running around trying to figure out, you know, what's what, and so forth and so on. I think we just have to go back to Gorgon is what I think. And then I want to talk to you all about Africville, because I'm so excited for this. Here, let's just go to Gorgon, shall we? There we go. Let's see. Let's hope your AC is working when you wear that. Looks firm. It is. It is a hockey hoodie. And so it is going to be warm. So let's hope my AC works indeed, because I feel like that might be a thing. that might be a thing. Yeah. Speaking of which, I should probably. I'm good, right? Like my character doesn't need to heal anything, or no, I think we're good. So let's go out there and then talk about Africa. Has the vampire? No, Valtiel, the vampire game has not been announced, so I'm still being a bit vague because it hasn't been announced. But you know, yeah, we're gonna keep Ellie and Nyoka because we like them. But I just wanted to share with you my hockey hoodie because I just got it and I'm really excited about it. Like it's very excited. Let me see what's happening. You know what happens. You know how this is. I turn up the volume for when I'm running an RPG, but I actually have an idea that I think what I might be able to do. I've got to figure out how to do this properly, which is to separate the volume of Zoom and the rest of the game so that I can deal with them independently. I think it'll be a little bit tricky to do because of, you know what, you don't need to worry about it. There's a thing. Hawkeye's like, I love the color combo, but I'm partial. Which, right, to black and gold, I see you. Let's see. Where are we at? When was it that the team actually played Asalonku? Well, they started the turn of this century, and then they were playing. They were doing really, really well. There's some really important things that happened there historically, and then they basically sort of quit a little bit. They basically got kind of pushed out because people would stop. Rinks would stop letting them play, so they basically shut down a bit between the wars, and things started back up again a little bit, and then they went out again. Yeah. When was it? So it looks nice. So you're a vampire hockey player, yes? Is that not dangerous if you get your fangs knocked out by a puck? How do vampires eat without fangs? They just grow back, you know. Yes. No, I fixed the sound balance, right? It should be good now. Yes. Is that not fast food? Is there more of a zero chance of seeing more Archangel in the future? I believe that will be the case. The jams get pumped up during repeat. Yes. So, I feel like the puck would be a Robin Bloodfellow. Oh, type of gifts. That's very good. So I've turned down the sound for the game. So it should be. We should be good. I do need to eat food. Let me know. Let me know. Like you can hear it now, right? How does that for you all? Also, I'm gonna just have to eat food while we're here. That's a very light sound. Where's my food? What is this? I need some purple berry munch. Let's have that. Okay, and then let me tell you about Africville as we travel to the place we need to go, which is here. Yes. So, I do not know if we can fast travel there. I don't think we can. I think we can fast travel. The closest we can get is probably... Wait. I wanted your setup because I should have my speakers. Oh, I'm hitting the yellows though, so I actually think my volume is the way it normally is, and I'm hitting my yellows, so my volume is not it's not particularly low. It's sort of standard. When I can up it a bit. I just don't want to start peaking. You know what I mean? That's my concern. But I'll up it a little bit. There you go. Have a good time rolling dice, Hawkeye. So, let's travel. Best place to travel might be here? Perhaps? Okay, so Africville was this place that I told you about, right? End of the end of the Underground Railroad. Oh, I have turned down the alerts, by the way, so they should be less less loud. Um, yes. Also, yes, I decided to give Twitch money again. Also, that is an epic. Right, it's so good. Okay, so Africa, all these people, they all sort of moved there, right? And they moved there for quite some time. But the thing is that Nova Scotia treated the whole place really poorly. Surprise, surprise. And when I say they treated the whole place very poorly, I really mean they treated the whole place really poorly. Like Africville didn't have like they didn't really support them in terms of infrastructure. Um, Excuse me for a moment. I just saw that some bits came in from Rissa. How is that volume, by the way? Also, I don't know if you know this, but whenever we get bits, as a thank you, I sing We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I sing it in Pig Latin. And at this moment, I'm going to sing it in Pig Latin for you. Because Rissa wants to test things. Yeah, no, I turned the alerts way down. Look, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and spend the time to figure out the process of separating the things. The only problem with separating things is that right now the way it works is you've got like system sound and then you've got my mic sound, and you can balance those two things against each other, and that's what you can normally do. But I have a new program that allows me to separate. I can actually send the sounds in separately through virtual audio cables into OBS, which means I can separate them and deal with audio. I cannot separate the sounds of the individual people on Zoom, but I can separate Zoom out from other programs. The only problem is if I do that, then I bypass system sound, and I have to do it per program. And so I have to figure out how to basically what I want to do is try to get everything but Zoom on a different input. And I'm not quite certain how that is going to work, how to basically get everything but Zoom. I'm not quite certain that is possible. What I think I might have to do is individually add everything that I might need except for Zoom into one channel and then Zoom onto a separate channel, which means I've got to figure out how to get the alerts, which I might be able to do with Audio Hijack. Anyway, I have an idea of what I want to do. It's one of the I was talking recently about how I've been so busy that I get to do the things that I must do, but I don't have the time to do the extra things that I want to do. And like that is one of these little extra things that I want to do. Also, I need to change my mic. I have a new mic, and I haven't been able to plug it in yet. So just little things, right? But I'm hoping I can do that. Woo for Mac and Linux. Yeah. So sing and get back to the game. Yes, that is true. I was going to say. Airway and hey, the anime. Airway and hey, the anime. Iwe at gele at we at we xti utet gele yang we. Airway and hey, the anime. Ile I skays are ani say. Oh man, the aviation pray, we are a udre, you stand way young ray. Iwe every eat red lands lay, every ed brands lay ute day. And when we see the end, Lord will look left the eye, get right in the eye, we're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Yay! Yes. Yeah, I went and I got a new mic and a new audio interface, which I'm super excited about because I think it'll like do good things. I want to check it out. I just haven't had time to actually set it all up because that's like bonus stuff rather than not bonus stuff. So, you know, I've got a bunch of bonus stuff I really need to get around to, especially before the school year starts. I just hope I can get there. Anyway. Hey, Atomica. So what happened was Africville was not getting good infrastructure, right? They didn't really they didn't like have like good running water. The town, Nova Scotia, put like just dumped toxic waste in their home as well. Like they just did that for kind of without asking. They just were like basically it was not great, like how they were being treated. But the people of Africville had a really strong community. They'd built everything themselves, you know, with their hands and all that, and they loved their community and their home, even if they did not get the kinds of things they needed in order to be successful, which is, you know, oh, hey, guess what? These people are bad people who want to harm us. So let's just kneel down. Sure. Let's, for the moment, like, get our, like, a little, that thing going on. And then let's shoot them. And then, let's do this. And then let's do this, because this will be good. And let's do a bunch of shooting, because shooting is great. And then we're going to have our friends use their special powers. So what happened was, Halifax had, like, you know, Nova Scotia had just treated that whole town so badly. You know, they were doing, you know, it was bad, right? And so it became an embarrassment for Halifax. Hi, what's going on? Is everybody okay? Because I feel like maybe people are not okay. Use your powers. Do you have them? No? Well, we're fine. That's great. Everything's fine. Oh, everything is not fine. What's happening? Oh, hi. Here, let's just... Oh, you're dead already. Taking care... You know what? Here I was trying to take care of things for them. Didn't even need to. Back to Africville. So, the place was basically this sort of like... It became an embarrassment because they were just so poorly supported that Nova Scotia decided to declare Africville basically... well, I won't tell you yet because I'm going to go and sing. I was going to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to sing instead. That's what I'm going to do. Time of gifts. Belated donation for Greg's sterling efforts as Archangel Gabriel. Thank you. I'll put that there. I'm hyped for tonight because of SummerSlam, but I got my wish for such dark reasons. Oh, say more about that. Thank you, Time of Gifts. And so, Earway and Hey. I'm singing We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers 1933, which means I'm singing it in Pig Latin. Earway and Hey, the anime. Earway and Hey, the anime. Iwayat galeat wayat wakes to utet gale young wayo. Earway and Hey, the anime. Either ice gaze or ani say. Only and the adiation pray uyare udre yavaste anwang angre. Iwe from the eat red lions lay, elway brands lay utede. And when we see the end, the order look let the eye get in the eye. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Thank you. And I want you to know, some gifts, I'm going to put that in my accounting towards Seasons of Death. Thank you. It feels like the same old playbook, right? Impoverish and refuse to support community of color, and then declare it's unfit. And politicians, yes, they do. And here's what happened. So they declared it unfit, right? They said, oh no, this place is unsafe. And what they did was like, okay, well, we're going to basically just destroy it. Like, we're just going to basically destroy this town. We're going to shut it down, declare it like unsafe, and just destroy the town. And the people of Africa were like, you can't do that. This is our home. Like, you can't just demolish our town. This is our place, right? And then Nova Scotia said, oh, that's interesting. Do you have deeds? Do you have proof that these houses and this land is yours? And because they moved there in the 17 and 1800s, no, they did not have paperwork. A couple of people did have paperwork. Some of them had paperwork, but a lot of them did not have paperwork because, you know, they moved there in the 1800s. And so then Halifax was like, oh, too bad for you then. If you don't have paperwork, you don't really own anything, and we can just take it from you. Which they then did, right? They just, now some people actually got, some people did have deeds, and so some people did get, some compensation, but not a lot. And there are some people who, like, basically, there's also a big deal about how the church They were like, no, we're not going to sell the church. Like the people who somebody had the deed for the church, and they were like, we're not going to sell this. Absolutely not. And what happened was that all of a sudden, like the church got mysteriously sold anyway, uh, and that was like, and it was like backdated, like so. There was basically a lot of very mysterious circumstances around basically cheating the people, and so and this was like part of like the heartbreaking moment where I should probably heal myself, right? Yeah, where they came to go and basically move everybody's stuff out of Africville, just like move all of their things. The city came and well, like Nova Scotia came to. Hello, Colossus. Hi, how are you? I need to shoot you a lot. I also need to stop you from getting near me. I need all of you to get away from me. All of you need to get away from me. I need to switch guns to like something. I need to get my shotgun. Or that's not even a shotgun. I don't even know what that is, but it's not a shotgun. It's also, my friends are dead. Okay. How's everybody doing? I am feeling... What is this that I've got right now? Oh, it's just don't even know what's happening. Hi. Here, let's do this. Let me do this, as a matter of fact. So, on like the time when this was, by the way, this was in the 60s when all this was happening. They decided to like basically just take down this place in the 60s. And on the day that the Halifax came in to go and basically just haul them all away. And you know what they did? They took all their stuff in garbage trucks because the trucks that were going to go in. You keep running away from me, which is interesting, but I don't like it. And I kind of would have liked my time skip to last longer. It's cool though. Okay, did it, everybody. So they came with garbage trucks and people came and just grabbed everybody's stuff and moved everybody's belongings and just tossed them into garbage trucks, and then they just took them all away. And let's see. I have a sketchy land issue with Canada where I technically own a small woodlot, but I don't have any proof beyond the fact that I pay taxes on it, and I worry about trying to get it fixed in case Canada goes, no paperwork, no land, sucks, but you. Yeah. Yeah. Someone did get a Shadowrun to get that shirt trolled. Yeah, you're right. Assault rifle. Yeah. I got in there. So what they did was they're like, oh, don't worry though, people from Africville. We'll like put you in basically projects, right? So they put them in projects, but they destroyed their entire community, right? Like Africville had this entire community that was then destroyed, right? Because they weren't like they had homes and they had like a school and they had this whole entire like history that went back all these times, and they were just all like basically moved out, separated, and their community was all broken up. And then what happened was that Nova Scotia used that land and created a golf course out of it. They just took the land and like, because they're like, oh, this land's like bad land, no one can use it. And they're like, we're going to use it for a golf course. So they made a golf course out of it. And people were like, and the last home was finally demolished in like 1970. It started like based in the late 60s when they started demolishing all these people's homes. And it was yeah, I believe we're going this way. So now what's interesting for me, at least, is that the people who are from Africville, they did not forget Africville, and they were still really pissed about it, and they have been fighting for some kind of restitution since the 1970s. And they were like, we want our land back, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. They're like, we'll make a little plaque, a park thing for you. And they're like, we want our land back, or we want at least to be able to like, and people that they've tried to sue, like they're trying to sort of get access back to their home, or get their land back, and that is just kind of not happening. But what's interesting for me, at least, is that a lot of people who are like the children of people from Africville, they've made music about Africville. There have been like these hip hop songs and jazz suites. There have been all these like pieces of art created about Africville, to remember Africville, and so I want to write an okay. I want to write an article about Africville and the music, like the music of remembrance in Africville, like what have people done to remember Africville in song and sort of the idea of memory. I think that'd be really, really cool. And that's the thing I want to do. And since I have been doing so much research on Africville, I thought it'd be kind of neat. Ooh, hi. I thought it'd be kind of neat. Excuse me for a second. I thought it'd be kind of neat to make a character who is from Africville, because it like uses all my research, but you know. Okay, gosh. Oh gosh. Hey everybody. Assault rifle. Hi. Hi, how's it going? It's going really well for me, I'm thinking. I'm feeling like it's going super well. And by super well, I mean I'm very concerned. Oh, hi. Hi, how you doing? Let's do that. Let's do that, and let's maybe also do a little bit of that. Ooh, hi. All my friends are dead. I just want you to know all my friends are dead. And I just need to kill these things. Ooh, hi. How you doing? I just want you to know, I want to read chat, a lot, but I'm also dealing with murder. Hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well. That happened. I would like to point out that I did not die. Just want to make that known for the record, that I did not die, and I feel very proud of myself. Yes. Yes, just gonna mention that. And that being mentioned, I'm going to now catch up on chat, because chat has things to tell me. I am 100% certain of that, that are way less stressful than what just happened. And when I pick up the things from when I look at the chat, which I'm going to do right about now, I will be relaxed and have a lovely little pause moment. VO was asking, what about Canada's? Are we talking about Canada's treatment of Indigenous folks? No, we're talking about Black Canadians. That's what we're talking about. Werewolf says, ultimately, as most would likely know, it wasn't the actual place that they considered the problem. It was the people. Absolutely. There's a whole thing about how North American governments fear the hell out of organization. Yeah. But yeah, extremely close similarities with the treatment of First Nation communities. Absolutely. It's the same playbook more often than not, especially once we hit the 1900s. Yeah. Who were they in Africville? They were Black Canadians. Many of them had been escaped slaves. They've been formerly enslaved people from the United States who went up the Underground Railroad, right? Like, when people escaped from slavery, they went north, and they did not necessarily just stop in the United States. They kept all the way up to Canada. Yeah. Trooper considered making music about a historical event that has continued repercussions. Funny that, almost if art is political or something. Thank you, friend of the term, Rissa. I know it would suck, but I can't wait till tech gets to the point where enemies like this would reliably be able to throw other enemies at you, because it just seems like they're like hidden MF without MF types. Yeah. That comes almost as intense as Trooper Cabin Trip. Valtiel. Am I under-leveled? I feel like I shouldn't be under-leveled. But then again, this is DLC, right? And the DLC is supposed to be like super hardcore. But I feel like I'm not. Now, again, I get rid of all my weapons, and so maybe my weapons are not as strong as they could. But I've been like, they're doing like a decent damage, right? I mean, decent. Also, we are here in the moment to solve. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna like maybe even solve. I don't know if we're gonna actually solve Gorgon today, so we can finish the game soon. But for relative versions of soon. But
security event. Accessing this facility requires voice-modulated passphrase. Please speak the passphrase.
As I've mentioned before, that keep politics out of music video games, these folks really annoy me. Well, I mean, yes, VO, but also everything's political for me. For me, everything's political. Now, I will note that what those politics are not always electoral politics. Like sometimes the politics are the politics of musical. Like there's a lot of politics people don't think about. Like the politics of like who is desirable is political. Like who's considered attractive is a political thing, and a lot of art deals with that. What does it mean to be an American? That's a political concept, and a lot of art deals with that. Like there's always some kind of like, and some of the like look, and some of the politics are really not what you'd expect, right? Like yes, I know I know that's a reference, but also the politics of dancing is real, right? There were like super heavy, intense, weird politics around dancing as well, because like the King of France did ballet, and there was like a lot of things like what kind of dance steps you're going to be doing in the court, and like if you did some dance steps that would be insulting to the king, other dance steps would not be insulting. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it's amazing how much politics there are in all sorts of forms of art, even sometimes things you couldn't imagine. Like there's a whole politics at one point about like what style of flute you were playing, because there were these two different, there was like like I think like an Italian flute maker and like a German flute maker. They were like, this was like during the transition from the earlier flute to the more modern flute that had different, they were both building these different styles of flutes, and which style of flute you played into nationalism, actually, right? So there's all sorts of and like Wagner did all sorts of politics about like how do you sing. Like he really felt that like Germans should sing this one style of in one way versus Italian. So like there's all these politics in just how you sing or what instrument you play or how you dance, or I mean so much stuff.
We attest to the zest with our hand on our chest. Be impressed as our guest by what we've finessed. You are blessed to ingest what we thoroughly test. You've tried the best, now try the rest. Spacer's choice. Passphrase accepted. Access granted. Welcome, Dr. Jasper Lowe.
Fancy.
Welcome, Dr. Jasper Lowe.
Fancy. I think we should probably save. Let's do that. Let's save, since we have made massive progress and also didn't die. So, yes. Now, Ice Bunny asked, but doesn't that make life suck? A lot more suck? And I don't think so, because if you recognize that everything is political, then it doesn't make life suck more. It's just reality, right? You're just more aware of like what clothing you wear is a political choice, whether you are aware of it or not. But oftentimes we are often aware of it, even subconsciously, if we're not consciously aware of it. Because if I walked into work wearing flip-flops and board shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and I work in a very conservative accounting office, that's a political choice, right? Because there are politics of dress, there's politics of politeness, like there's like all of these things have, oh, hello, ooh, hey, all these things have political import, and that's just like, and the thing is, we navigate all of these things every day. You know what I mean? Like there's the politics of how do you talk to your boss or how do you not talk to your boss, and we
Looks like Monarch ain't the only place they gave up on.
ooh, and we navigate these things fairly naturally. Well, not always, but I mean, especially if you don't know the protocol. But we learn the protocol and then we navigate them, because that's kind of how just life works. You know what I mean? Um, Politics isn't just who you vote for. Politics is everything, right? It's everything. Um, and it's just that not all politics have to do with who's in charge of a government. There are a lot of politics that have nothing to do with the government, that have to do with everything else, and we just sometimes forget that too. But that's also part of the politics of the world. Let's go in here for a moment and let's sell things, right? That's what I'm saying. Oh, also, do you know what? Before we do that, I actually think I need to look at my uh, medical thing to make sure I actually have medical things. I do, so I still have consumables, so I don't feel bad about that. So I'm not worried about that. So let's go in here. And while we're doing this, I am going to catch up on chat because I know chat has really exciting things to tell me. And I don't know what they are. But, oops, that wasn't it. Let's not do that. Let's go with name and then, oh, I have to back out here. Nope, wait, here, okay. Where are we? So, like the guide that told me, I hate political video games after somebody's favorite game is Halo. Yeah. Atomic, oh! Maybe feed Jezza. Right now he's not low food choice. Sticking one's head in the sand and ignoring politics is a... Yes, actually, see, thank you. PH is correct. Sticking one's head in the sand and ignoring politics is also a political choice, right? Like, that's... Yes, absolutely. And that's not norms. This, by the way, was the same guy that also said they keep injecting woke lefty politics out of these new Star Wars. Yes, you mean the movies about a bunch of plucky rebels fighting against evil fascistic empire? No, that is never... Yeah. And, oh, that was another one that was really interesting. I went to see Madonna in concert a few years ago. Not too long ago. Well, it's probably longer than I thought it was. It's probably like 2016. And on the way... It was a really great show, by the way. And on the way back, I was on the T, you know, the metro. And everybody on the metro had also been to the concert because there's like a metro stop that stops right at the concert venue. So people like just get on the metro and ride out. And somebody was like, well, I mean, the concert was really good, but I don't know why Madonna had to be political. Like, why can't you just go back to how she was back in the 80s when she wasn't political at all? And I was like, what Madonna are you talking about? Papa Don't Preach Madonna? Like a virgin Madonna? Oh, father. Like, Madonna has always been political. It's just that her politics, yeah, she's always been political. Like, maybe you didn't recognize that when she was talking about Papa Don't Preach, I've been losing sleep. Papa Don't Preach, I'm in trouble deep. But I've made up my mind, I'm keeping my baby, right, might have been a political thing. Like, you know, and also, like, the Pope banned her. Like, people, like, she got, like, Madonna was political from the very beginning. Like, from the very beginning. And so it's just odd to me when people, I don't know, miss those things, you know? But Tonga says, it reminds me of that old quote, what is more evil, to do evil or to see evil and do nothing? Ooh. It's a very good question, actually, Tomica. I have to think about that. Werewolf says, politics are all just part of life. You know, yeah. We all live, we all have needs, we all advocate for those needs, etc. That even is political. The way we've reframed politics to just be talking about things that are hard or we don't like is a bit of an issue to me. We're all political. Yeah. Or for me, and I have to say, this is very much me as a music scholar. This is where you're going to learn a little bit about my music scholerness in a way. I have always been frustrated by the ways in which we narrow what politics means within music scholarship or music, not even just scholarship, but like music, talking about music, to a very narrow thing. So, those like, some people have the media comprehension skills of a potato. Oh yes. Discussion about Mass Effect 3 showed me that real fast. So I think so here's a thing that has always frustrated me. And one of the things that really sort of drove me into becoming a music scholar, one of the many things, right, is that, Tomica says, speaking of Madonna and fun facts, when Weird Al was working on a spoof of her music, she not only requested that he not parody Like a Prayer, and she came up with the title Like a Surgeon instead of Like a Virgin, and love the parody he came up with. That's cool, because Like a Prayer is actually also pretty political. So the thing about politics and music has always really frustrated me is that, you know, you have like a pop rock, like there's like a pop rock divide where rockism basically says that rock is really awesome and pop is terrible. Like, rock is deep and meaningful and pop is vapid and shallow and it's terrible, right? There's this thing that's been going on since the 1960s. And one of the things that people will argue, if you are a rockist, is that the reason why rock is better than pop is because rock is political. And that if your music is political, it is better music, right? So something like God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols is a better song, it's better music, it's more important because it's political than something like like a prayer, which is not political because it's pop music, or a love song or whatever. And so there's this persistent diminishment of pop music because it's not political, and a valorization of a bunch of other sort of like rock, punk, folk songs for being political. But here's what I would argue. Madonna's been very shrewd about controlling changing her image. Yeah. And the thing is that I would say, and this is what's really frustrating me, is that love songs are political, right? It gets very frustrating to me when people are like, oh, well, but love songs are political. That's why the music's not good. One, things do not have to be overtly political to be good. First thing. Two, saying that you don't like the Queen of England is not the only way to do politics. And they're like, you know who's great? Bob Dylan is so great because he's political, but the other stuff is crappy because it's not political. And I was like, okay, but Blowing in the Wind is super vague. It doesn't really say anything. It has like a flavor. Like, it's like, how many years must a man walk down until he's considered a man? Well, the answer, my friend, is Blowing in the Wind. It's Blowing in the Wind. And like, well, that's really vague. Like, we valorize that as like the best song of the civil rights movement. Many people do. I don't. But it doesn't say anything. But that gets all this love. But all these other songs get sort of dismissed because they're not political. They're just love songs. But mass media pop can be vapid and shallow, and that can be something that you want sometimes. Sure, right? But also, oftentimes, it's actually not vapid and shallow. People are just not giving it any credit. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think, look, I know I've got to get back to the game, but I have to say this because you just walked onto like my space. I feel like there are a lot of different kinds of politics that people are not paying attention to, and that really is important to me. And I think a really great example, I can give you like 2 examples. And like, when I was going to write my dissertation, right, my dissertation for musicology, they were like, I was really fascinated by music that was very political but couldn't say it because but they just couldn't say it for various reasons, right? Either because it was not safe for them to do so, or it was not the time period. And I was thinking about, there's a lot of old slave songs that do not sound like they're doing anything, but they are. Like the song Follow the Drinking Gourd just sounds like a follow the drinking gourd. Oh, follow the, and then, you look to the drinking gourd and you follow it, and then there's moth on the north. Like, basically, it's giving instructions on how to escape. Like, the song doesn't sound like it's saying anything at all. It sounds like it's just got a fun little folk song, but it's giving instructions to people on how to escape. Like, you go north and you're going to come to this fork, there's this river, you pass it. Like, it's telling you in coded language how to escape slavery. Or this song by Kui Jen, who was this Chinese singer-songwriter who had this song that came out that was like the song of the Tiananmen Square revolts, which has no overtly political lyrics, because if he'd written a song that was overtly political against the Chinese government, it would have been banned, right? So he just couldn't do that. So he wrote this song. It was just a love song about his love, the love that he had, this woman that he loved so very desperately, and how she has changed. That in the past she was so wonderful and she was sweet and kind and they loved each other very much, but now she has turned cold and she is cruel to him, and he does not understand how she's changed or why she's changed so much, and where did their love go, and how awful it is right now, their relationship. And that song was not about a girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? But like, he couldn't say so politically, but people would be like, oh, that's just a love song. And yeah, and I think about the ways in which there are many different ways sort of to do political comment and content. Versus like when I think of political pop, Pink's Dear Mr. President comes to mind. Yeah, although I think that she likes to think of herself as kind of rock as well. Thomas says, looking back, I was taught Follow the Drinking Gourd in middle school, and I'm surprised they actually taught what that song's purpose was. Yeah, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to teach that song because it's like 200 years old, you know what I mean? Shabai says, also, mindless entertainment is what should be considered in relation to the politics the most. Yes. As it will be common and people won't think about what it tells them. Yes. Yes. Oh, did you hear about the Layla song BS in Germany? It is a very popular song that all the German male tourists like, and some town in Germany didn't not allow people to play it. Oh, let me hear more about it. Interesting. Coded language and symbolism can be so interesting, whether that music is political, musical, poetic allegory, the early Christian festival. Oh, absolutely true, right? But But then also I was thinking like one of the songs that I really wanted to do, I ended up doing something slightly different because I was going to write 9 chapters in this dissertation. I just didn't have the space for it. I was really interested in, so the Comedian Harmonists, which is this German, we're going to go back to the game, it has this German band, half of whom were Jewish, half of them were not, that were formed in 1929 and were basically banned in 1935 because half the group was Jewish in Nazi Germany, right? But they were like one of the most popular groups in Germany. They have a song called Schöne Isabella aus Castilla, Beautiful Isabel from Castile. And the song sings about how beautiful and sexy and wonderful Isabel is, this Isabella from Castilla, and her dark hair and her dark eyes, and how amazing she is. And they have all of these songs about dark-haired, dark-eyed beauties who they love so desperately and dearly. And they have very few songs about blonde-haired, blue-eyed women that they think are the sexiest and hottest. And they're singing these songs to dark-haired, dark-eyed beauties, many of whom are Spanish or Portuguese, which were places that had heavy Jewish populations until they were kicked out, right? In the middle of Nazi Germany, right? And so, like, I argue that singing these songs, when they can't sing love songs to Jewish people, but they can sing these love songs to people who are sort of clearly not the Aryan ideal, when people know that half of them are Jewish, when Hitler's now in power, is itself political, right? That it is a political thing when Nazi Germany is saying that the only people who are valuable are blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, to sing all these love songs to dark-haired, dark-eyed people, right? And so that, I would argue, is a very political thing. And if you don't believe me, Hitler banned them. Do you know what I mean? Hitler's like, no, we don't like it, right? And the fact that they sang jazz at all was also political, because the genre is now politicized. And so there are all these things that may not seem political, but in the context, they're very political and very powerful. And Hitler knew it, and Hitler banned them for it. Because Hitler was like, oh, no, none of this, right? Like, he's like, none of your stuff is appropriate at all. Yeah. Mallorca, yeah. I feel like there's also a lot of music where the politics is the fact that the songwriter could write the song at all. Absolutely, Werewolf, yes. Like, we don't consider some of these love songs risque today, but many were when they first came out. I'm more of a theater school. No, but it's the same thing with theater. Like, I think about, all right, now I feel like I can jump back in, right? Oh, that's right, we were selling things. I feel like there are a lot... See, this is actually a thing that I feel Werewolf feels. You need to know how much I'm giving you love right now. Just like a lot of love that I feel like you need to know about in this moment. We were going to sell everything under level like 20. Oh, we have a 34. That's exciting. We're gonna sell. Hold on. You know what we're gonna do? Actually, I can't do that because I don't know. I can't even say. We're gonna sell everything under level 30. That's it. Right? Yes. Everything under level 30 we're going to sell. This is our arbitrary cutoff. I think I am level 30. So some of these weapons seem like they might be good upgrades, but we don't know. Yeah. Also, what is not considered political is very political in itself. Absolutely. Like, love songs are not political until it isn't hetero love. Absolutely. And those are the things, right, that I think become, like, whether or not you get married. Like, do you sing, like, Hitler, actually, a lot of countries wanted people to start getting married and pumping out babies once we started about 1935, 36, 37. And when you sing songs about not wanting to get married, not wanting to have babies, and the government wants you to get married and have babies, then that becomes political. When the government wants you to feel really good about going to war and wants you to, like, hate your enemies and get into big fights, and you want to sing songs about not doing any of that, then that is political, right? Like, all of those things are political things, and we are not recognizing, right? The politics hit us in all of these different ways, and that itself is, of course, also political. Is there anything interesting for me to buy, by the way? Because I don't know if there is. There are guns, all of which I feel like I don't need to buy guns. I feel like I have weapons already, and I certainly don't need to buy those. And I feel like, why should I buy armor? I just feel like I don't need to buy anything because I mean, like, maybe I should buy some things. Like, for all I know, maybe I should. I don't know about that. But I don't feel like I need to buy anything. Hey, what about those? What are these? There were tools. Bypass shunts. Maybe I should buy those. Let's buy those. I don't know if I need them, but, and then let's buy these too. We're just going to buy those. I don't know how much I need them for, but that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to save. Because that makes me feel good. Also, just noting that we have been awesome. Yes. And there are a lot of songs which you still can't play on the radio. Yep. Although, how relevant that is in the era of Spotify, YouTube. Although there are things, what I think is really fascinating, speaking about things you can't play on the radio, there are things that were played on the radio that you cannot play on YouTube without it being demonetized. Right? So like YouTube has its own algorithm about what you can and cannot play, and it's based on what their advertisers want. So there's some things that you can't play on YouTube without getting in trouble. And I think that's fascinating. Sure he did, but the average German just danced to the music, was not caring. They wanted just to forget how shit existing was. Well, see, that's interesting because it depends on who we're talking about. It depends on which German we're talking about. One of the reasons why they got banned was because their music did not support the war effort. To go and spend, I would argue that to go and spend 2 hours at a concert done by a group, half of whom were Jewish, wherein you did not have to think about Hitler for 2 hours when Hitler was everywhere, was political, right? To be able to be in a place where you're not dealing with Hitler's propaganda and Hitler, that was political. And it especially became political when by the end, like after 33, 34, when you went to one of their concerts, they had a Nazi that would stand up before the concert started in front of everyone and say, everyone, this concert is not approved by the Nazi government and it's degenerate music. And if you would like to get a refund on your ticket, you can go and get a refund right now. So if you then stayed at that concert after a Nazi official told you this was not an approved concert, forgetting your troubles for a half hour or 2 hours is 100% a political thing. And it was so political that Hitler banned them, right? Like that in and of itself is a political thing. And if you are Jewish and you're going to one of these concerts, or you are Roma, or you are a jazz kid, or any of these things, and you know you're being targeted, because the thing is, there were regularly, by the time we got to the like 35, 36, 33, 34, 35, and actually after 35, there were regular articles in the newspapers about how they were degenerate and how you should not listen to them. So listening to them is automatically political, right? Do you know what I mean? Like there's just really no way around that. And then a lot of their songs, especially after they got banned and had to break up, a lot of their songs are about having to leave Germany and how sad you are that you have to leave Germany, and like crying about having to leave. That is also not a thing that you can avoid politics on when all of these Jewish members and all these famous people had to leave Germany and everybody knew it, right? So like these things that may not seem political are 100% political, and you can't really listen to them without knowing it, right? You can't dancing away your troubles to jazz music when jazz music is illegal and might get you put in a concentration camp is fundamentally political. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying about that one. Also, when they ban media because won't somebody think of the children? Absolutely political. Whether that's an excuse to clamp down on opposing viewpoint or they're being honest about their motivations, absolutely political. Because it makes you think about, like, it has certain ideas about values, about what is or isn't for children, what media is for, right? Rissa says, and when artists choose to cover a song that is traditionally done by someone of another gender, absolutely, right? All those things are political. Did they arrest the crowds after watching the degenerate concert? They did not arrest them, but there were sometimes thugs who would try to cause fights. And if they caused fights, if they were able to succeed in causing fights, then the police would come in and shut everything down. But later on, when their stuff was banned, because the problem was they were still allowing them to play. That was the problem, that they were still allowing them to play concerts, but then just saying, we're allowing them to play, but then you shouldn't be here. But once they actually banned them in their music, if they caught you listening to their stuff, then they would arrest you, right? Yeah. This reminds me of an argument I had about Shakespeare once. This is one, by the way, Werewolf. I was going to mention Shakespeare, but now you can, because there's a lot of politics in Shakespeare as well. Atomic says, that reminds me of the lockdowns on comedians. Absolutely, in the early 1670s, like Lenny Bruce, Pryor. Absolutely, Atomica, right? Comedians as well. Yes. I'm going to read this while you are going to talk about Shakespeare. These urgent notifications brought to you by Spacer's Choice, by the Spacer's Choice Augmented Subversive Behavior Notification System. Please be informed that one or more of the following high priority conditions are likely to be active in your office or workplace. 1. Escaped primals. 2. Unlawful discussion of subversive cultural material. 3. Extended and unauthorized breaks. Please notify your supervisor immediately. If you are the designated supervisor of this workplace, this message constitutes your official notification. This is an automated response. Please do not respond directly to this message. So, let's look at this then. From C. Huang to forward to J. Lo. Jasper, I've been taking do we know this person? Do we know who this person is? We don't know. I've been taking your messages at my terminal like you asked. This one's from management though. Please take a look at this. I could get in trouble for deleting it. From L. Goodfellow to J. Lo. J. Lo. Jenny from the blog. Corrective measures. Dr. Lowe, I speak for everyone at the OCI when I express my disappointment in your work ethic. The quality of compound X harvested and enriched at your laboratory falls well below Spacer's Choice standards. It is my professional opinion that the quality of one's work reflects the quality of one's spirit. Lazy workers deliver lazy work. Round up your researchers. Fire 1 in 10. I expect you and your remaining researchers to deliver the next batch of chemicals HIA under an accelerated timetable. These measures may seem punitive, even harsh. They are. I'm instilling discipline in your team. One day I'd like to imagine you'll thank me. Respectfully, Lawrence Goodfellow, Manager, Office of Creative Incubation. Work fortifies the spirit. You are gross. From C. Wong to J. Lo, please respond. Jasper, I know you told me not to bother you when you're working, but I'm running out of options. I understand you're busy, so I've boiled down my list of concerns into simple yes-no questions. Just respond with why or in. 1. Did you read Goodfellow's letter? 2. Am I on the chopping block? 3. Has security talked to you about some type of corporate spy in our ranks? 3A. Is there a spy? 4. Did you know Padilla's heart gave out after a 72-hour shift? 4A. Are you attending the wake? I've got staff coming into the receptionist desk looking for answers, and what am I supposed to tell them? It's not the best choice. It's the only choice we've got. Are you going to respond? And then we have a response from J. Lo to C. Wong. Subject, please respond. N. Respectively, Jasper Lowe. That seems bad. From C. Huang to S. Tanaka. Lost key. Chief, I found a key in a locker by the lavatories. The key belongs to Dr. Lowe. Please retrieve the key and return it to him. I do it myself, but Dr. Lowe can be pretty paranoid, so if I show up at his door with a key in hand, he'll assume I stole it in order to fabricate a reason to check up on him. So could you just... Okay, yeah, thanks. So looks bad over there, which is great. I'm going to make it look like we have been progressing in this game a little bit at least by moving forward, and then I'm going to read chat because why? Our chat is the most awesome right now, and I'm so excited. Ooh, hat. Oh, the mysterious figure just told us something. I couldn't...
And here I was, hoping we'd have the place to ourselves.
I did not actually hear the mysterious figure saying any of that stuff, but apparently they're out to get us. That said, let's find out what chat is saying, because chat is too awesome for me to ignore too much. Carolyn says, now I'm thinking about The Rock doing You Ain't Woman Enough to See My Man. Oh, that would be so cool. Vo says, I remember sitting in my high school English class explaining the double entendres. People in class asking why I was laughing, and then me explaining the joke. Yeah. Right? Oh, crit twitch? Yes. Volus, village people might have been heavily frowned upon at 30s Germany. Absolutely. Werewolf feels like, right? Shakespeare is incredibly political. Not all of its politics we'd agree with, but whether he was mocking the monarchy or talking about how he perceived femininity, there's a lot there. Also, I actually think that Shakespeare... I don't like The Tempest very much because I think it's actually quite regressive, but I think a lot of Shakespeare is a lot more progressive than we realize because we now interpret Shakespeare as if it were the 1950s. Like we make Shakespeare, we make a lot of Shakespeare about romance in a way that makes no sense in Shakespeare's time. and we ignore a lot of cultural. There's a lot of gender politics that we just don't get because we don't understand the gender politics of the Renaissance, and we insert our own, right? So, for example, I think my best example is how terribly we tend to do Romeo and Juliet. Like we tend to do Romeo and Juliet. Thank you for the 15-minute warning. We tend to do Romeo and Juliet as if Romeo and Juliet were like 1950s teenagers and it's all romance and like she's like a dippy ingenue and he's like a bold romantic lead. But that is not the play. Juliet, first off, in order to have that reading, we tend to cut a number of things that she says and does. Like we cut her whole monologue about whether or not she should take the poison or not. We ignore the fact that she, in the play, is the one who's making most of the moves. He's actually quite fickle. And if there's trouble, she's the one who's going to get in the most trouble. And the kind of trouble she's going to get in as a Renaissance lady for defying her father is real bad, which makes her very, very brave, actually. And it's the same thing. Like, we do this all the time that we, it is a creepy play we shouldn't force. Actually, I don't think it's, Timmy the Shrew. Well, that's okay. So there's another thing that I think is really interesting. Also the sheer amount of anti-Semitic, yes. And yet he also wrote Shylock's Defense. And I also think that he writes dual things. Like some of his villains who are considered others give monologues where they explain where they're coming from that is very progressive. So I think he's doing a lot more than we actually give him credit for. Someone once described to me, says Werewolf, that Shakespeare is basic entertainment for the masses, and I nearly rolled my eyes out of sockets. Yes. He wasn't just entertaining, he was feeding into their worldviews and challenging them. Yes. And The Timothy the Shrew isn't a play any of my friends feel like taking in this summer given the Roe versus Wade decision in real life. It's creepy play and we shouldn't force on Jesus. So here's the thing about Timothy the Shrew. We misinterpret Timothy the Shrew because we actually don't do the full play. There's a lot about Timothy the Shrew that we do sketchily, right? Like we do Taming the Shrew like it's some kind of romantic comedy, right? Like we do Taming the Shrew as if it were a romantic comedy, and first off, Taming the Shrew is not real. What I mean by that is, in the world of the play, The Taming of the Shrew, nothing that we see actually happened, because there are these two framing scenes that they always cut. Christopher Shy brags that he knows how to tame women, that he's like the best with women, and he's a drunkard and all that. And the entire thing is a play within a play. None of the Taming of the Shrew is actually happening. It's these players mocking Christopher Shy for thinking he knows how to tame women. None of it is actually happening. It is all a play within the play, meant to mock Christopher Shy, who we're supposed to laugh at for thinking that women can be tameable. But we cut out the framing scenes, and we make the play that was supposed to be a mockery of Christopher Shy into a real sincere thing, when it doesn't even really happen. Like, we cut out the entire framing sequence all the time so that we take the play at face value when we're supposed to take it as a satire. Right? Like, we do this all the time. We make Shakespeare way more conservative than he actually was to fit our conservative worldview, which is not to say that Shakespeare was perfect in like the model of progressiveness, but there was a lot of progressiveness going on for his time period, and we may in some ways times make him way less progressive than our time period because we become weirdly weird about things. It's very frustrating, actually. Werewolf says, I was going to say Antony and Cleopatra. That play I wish I wasn't work because I have thoughts. Oh, now I want to hear about it. Kron says, do we do R&J as 50s because Bernstein and Sondheim made it in 50s? Yeah, but I think we just kind of do that with Shakespeare in general. We started doing that at the end of the 19th century. Juliet, at best case scenario, would have been sent to Monastery. Best case scenario was Romeo would have gotten away with everything, and people at the time knew it, right? They knew those tensions. Werewolf says, I'd argue that has a lot to do with it, but there's also how we make teaching curricula, when we made it, and how absolutely, yes, distant is its actual cultural context, like you need a history lesson and everything we do now, yeah. Rissa, hey, Artie Snack, 10 minutes, thank you. So Timmy the Shrew is Al Bundy's friend mocking Al Bundy. Yes, it is, and we missed that. And the thing is, I actually saw a performance of Timmy the Shrew that used both framing scenes, and it was brilliant. I'd never seen Timmy the Shrew in a way that I liked, and then I watched this version. It was by the Royal Shakespeare Company. It was on tour. They played in the Bay Area, and I got to see it, and it was amazing, actually. because the director noted that the way that Petruchio tames Kate by removing her from her family and friends, not letting her sleep or eat for days at a time, is exactly how people brainwash people. Those are the techniques you use to brainwash people. And that's how he did it. And so we have the framing scenes, and which is kind of basically like Christopher Shy seeing all this on the internet. And then we have the whole thing going on. And the most brilliant part that I was like, this is amazing, is the very end of Taming of the Shrew, where Petruchio proves that he's tamed Kate by saying basically let me put my foot in your hand, and she's like, please put your foot in my hand, right? And the thing is, this happens at her sister's wedding in front of everybody. And what happens is he's like, look, I've tamed her, and she's like, put your foot in my hand, and he's like, great, let's go have sex in the middle of his sister's wedding, right? And then they go off. And the way they do it is that she does this completely sincerely, and everybody at the wedding is like, what the hell is happening? This is creepy. This is inappropriate and strange. What is happening? And everybody's like, this is super uncomfortable and weird. And he's like, look, I'm putting my foot in her hand. And she's like, this is so great. And then he takes her off, and everyone's like, oh, it was really good. It was really good. I was like, this is nice. This is nice. I like that very much. Also, the framing of Romeo and Juliet as an ideal love story is really creepy. Like, what the hell, dude? It's flash teenage romance that ends in a bunch of death and double suicide. Also, it's actually pretty dangerous, that one, right? It feels very dangerous. Werewolf says, look for the quartos if you can find them. Some of the edits in later versions cause a lot of the confusion we have today. Absolutely. And then, gotta get a save point.
Shadow from the OCI, I am losing my patience with the cloak and dagger.
Cool. I probably feel like I should have upped the volume a little bit, just a little bit. What I'm gonna do right now is just grab this stuff and then we can save. So the one other thing I wanted to tell you, and this is one of the things I think is for me really frustrating, which goes back before the 50s, but it's related. We tend to treat a lot of the characters who are women in the plays that have nobility as Disney princesses, which means we tend to make them, it's bad, right? It's one of the things that most frustrates me is we tend to treat the women in these plays with nobility like Disney princesses, and Disney princesses are not what princesses were like in real life, right? We tend to treat them like they are dippy ingenues, right, is what we tend to do. I'm going to save right now, and then we're going to go to the load screen. And the thing about people who were princesses in Shakespeare's time, and for most of the time when monarchies were an actual thing, right? For most of the time that monarchies were an actual thing, if you were a princess, right? Like it's like I get so frustrated with the way that we treat Gertrude in Hamlet as being just completely stupid and oversexed in some kind of weird ahistorical Oedipal reading. Queens of countries, that is a job, right? If you're the queen of a country, that is a job that you are trained for from the time you were very small, right? If you are an important person like Eleanor of Aquitaine, or it's these people, like you get trained in history, in politics, in diplomacy. Like, this is not, you're not a Disney princess who just sits around singing songs and like just waits for your prince to come and save you and like you have no mind. Like, this is a highly trained position that you get trained for from the time you're very small, right? Like, you are a political leader of a country that has to deal with all sorts of international politics, right? And in Shakespeare's time, especially considering that Queen Elizabeth was the queen very often for a number of his plays, and he's aware of that, the importance of Queen Elizabeth, he wrote his, like, if you understand the context of the political power and importance and the kind of political power of that job, you would not be portraying many of these princess and queen characters the way we portray them now. And it is so frustrating because, like, these are like really important political figures that we treat like they were like Sleeping Beauty, and it's really frustrating. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is really frustrating because it leads us to really bad interpretations, and interpretations I find not very interesting. And you could have a much more interesting interpretation if you think about, for example, still have a couple seconds, Gertrude spends all this time trying to protect Hamlet, right, after this remarriage. If Why? Because if Hamlet is able to inherit the throne, she does not have to have more children. She is a little bit too old to have more children. She could die. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on there about, like, okay, sure, Hamlet Sr. is dead. She's married his brother. But if Hamlet Jr. ascends the throne, that line still continues. And she has a lot of power, right? She does not have, like, there's so much that happens if we understand that these women, especially in the time of Queen Elizabeth, are not like Cinderella. And it's very frustrating to me. It's very frustrating. One of the powerful monarchs in Scandinavia is a woman. Yep. And Vaux says queen consorts often ran the country as regents. Absolutely. And Iceman says Marguerite the First, queen of the Kalmar Union. Absolutely. And Gervais, like, there was a lot of expectations on women in general, even more so with nobility. Yep. And Artie Snack says, look at the relative strength of the king and queen in pieces of chess. Yes. And Carlin says, left you a present in the Discord for after. Ooh, so exciting. And Vaux says, that reminds me of the joke. My girlfriend said to treat her like a princess, so I sent her off to meet a man she'd never met in order to secure a strong military alliance. And Worf says, there's so many kings who fall to folly in Shakespeare. Yes. And so many women who decidedly don't. Yes. And yet, it's especially hilarious because he knew that Elizabeth was watching some of these. Yep. Right? It's like, I feel like, basically, I'm not saying that Shakespeare is perfect, right? And I actually think that there were a lot of other playwrights from Shakespeare's time period that we could also read and look into besides just Shakespeare. There were other people, like, if Prax were here, she would note Aphra Bean. Like, there's some very cool people that we just don't ever learn about because we just overvalue Shakespeare. But I just feel like when we do Shakespeare, we don't even do him very well. Like, we take out all the dirty jokes. We don't talk about, like, the difficulty of it, you know? And I just want to say, for the record, before I have to go, I really wish we understood about Romeo and Juliet how scary that play should be in certain moments, right? And part of that has to do with the fact that we treat sword fighting like Olympic fencing. But you have to imagine Romeo and Juliet starts, what is the current state of Romeo and Juliet? There are two families, the Montagues and the Capulets, where young men, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, who are very hot-blooded, are running around the streets with weapons, stabbing each other. Like, they are gangs who are roaming the streets, stabbing each other in public, in the market, knocking over market carts. It is so bad, the violence is so bad, right, that the people of Verona have to go to the prince saying, at the very beginning of the play, being like, you've got to do something about these guys running around, stabbing each other and getting into fights. Like, it is scary. These are armed, angry young men who clearly don't have enough to do with their lives, stabbing each other. And also, yeah. And Vaux says, oh yeah, when you hear sword fighting, think knife crime rather than athletics. Yeah. Also, there's a play, there's a movie called The Duelist, I think, that has really realistic looking, or maybe it might be Rob Roy, that has really realistic sword fights, and it's gross, right? Like, you get cut, and then bits of your flesh hang off. There's blood everywhere, and you've got, like, muscle sinews just flapping around. Like, sword fighting is not like, oh, you've hit me, oh, I'm gonna die. No, it's like hunks of your flesh being hacked at, and blood everywhere, and, like, it's terrible. Like, it's scary, right? And if we could understand, and people in the Renaissance understood that sword fighting was scary, like, they understood that. They saw people who had hacked off limbs and whatnot, who had been injured and all this stuff, so they knew that it was visceral and scary. And we never play it that way. I appreciated the Zeffirelli, because at least they had grappling and wrestling. So you got some of that. But, like, I feel like we should appreciate that Romeo and Juliet is actually pretty tense. Like, it's a pretty tense, it's a tragedy after all. It's a pretty tense play, and we never play it that way, and it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Vaux says, talking of period gender politics, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies actually fix a lot of the issues I have with that kind of period literature, is that the women tend to have a really boring characterization of, oh, when will I find a man to marry? You know what, Vaux? I think that a lot of that is modern misinterpretation of Austen as well, because Austen was a woman, and she knew how much it sucked to be a woman in the Regency. And very often she was making satire and critique that we just removed to make it romantic, which is frustrating. Hollywood is only capable of being aware of one Elizabeth player at a time, and for the past 200 years of Shakespeare, yes, Crowley. Dirty jokes, can it still be high culture with dirty jokes? Depends on the dirty joke. Scary Neck says, yeah, that's why I like the 90s Romeo and Juliet movie when they use, oh, Scary Neck, I did too, Baz Luhrmann, I like that too. I like that they used guns. I thought that was good. Baz Luhrmann did such a good job of reframing Romeo and Juliet. Sweetheart said, yes, Krellin, yes, that was Krellin who said that. And I thought so too. I think they did a really good job with that one. I quite liked it. I thought that Baz Luhrmann did a really good job. Volus says, hunters, former soldiers, armed to the teeth who can bribe the right people and mostly be above the law. Yes. Yes. Okay, I do. I gotta go. I've got a meeting in 9 minutes. It's terrible that today had to be a short stream because I could tell Drew would talk to us for a few more hours. I would. Bye-bye. Tschüssi. I love these streams so much. I always learn so much. And Werewolf Feels, I hope you come back because I want you to say more. I want to just hear more about Shakespeare from you. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about street theater, right? Like if we talk about theater, right, and politics, we could talk about street theater. And here's the thing, and I'm going to go, right? This is what I'm saying. The thing about theater is that oftentimes, not like now we think about theaters like Broadway and $1,000 tickets, whatever, but theater has often been done by the people in the streets. Sure, there is theater for like the nobles, but there was like Commedia dell'arte. There were all this sort of like in Mexico City, they had amazing street theater. There's all this amazing sort of like theater, the theater of the people that did amazing political work and really interesting stuff. And like, I think we have to recognize the ways in which the arts have often been an outlet for the people to tell history and to do resistance and to say things about themselves. It's just that very often the art of the people does not get preserved or is disrespected and disregarded. And that, by the way, is why I'm a popular music scholar. Also, I do like, other media, but because I don't want to forget the media of the people. That's all. Okay, got to say goodbye. The meeting's gonna, yeah. So I'm going. That's it. We're leaving. Yes, I will see you after a bit. Gen Con Werewolf. Also, I need you for something later, but it's not ready yet. But note that I've got you on my mind. I've got you on my mind for something, Werewolf. You're on my list. I have a list, and you're on that list. Just so you know. Okay, I'm going. Everybody, thank you for being here on this short stream. It was lovely, and we did get some progress done. We talked about a lot of really great things, and I moved into a building, and I killed things without dying, so that was good. You can find me next on Wednesday over at Laugh Love Lindy's at 8 p.m. for Upon the Hexhamshire Moors. I definitely cannot stream Thursday and Friday because I've got Gen Con stuff. I don't know if I'll be streaming next Saturday because I don't know what my modding schedule will be like, but I will probably find out within the next day or two. So I will let you know if I'll be streaming on Saturday. But I will be back the week after that for all sorts of goodness. All of that said, I will catch you all on the flip side, and thank you all for being lovely. You can find me in all the places. All the socials were dropped, and I'm going to go and jump on a Zoom meeting to talk Gen Con. Okay, bye everybody. You're great, and catch you on the flip side. Bye.